At my wife's birthday party on a rooftop in Austin, she told me in front of 50 people to move out of the photo because my face was ruining her aesthetic. So I stepped out and kept walking, straight to my car and drove away forever. Her best friend texted later saying Diana was still crying, but she had no idea I'd been planning this moment for 8 months. What came next destroyed everything she'd built. My name is Marcus Sullivan. I'm 42 years old, and up until 8 months ago, I thought I had a decent marriage. Not perfect, but decent. I run a successful technology consulting firm in Austin. My wife, Diana, is 37, works as a creative director for a boutique marketing agency, and has always been obsessed with appearances. How things looked, how we looked, how our life looked to everyone watching. We'd been married for 12 years. No kids by choice. Diana said children would interfere with her career trajectory. At least we had the freedom to leave if things went south. I just never imagined how south they'd actually go. The birthday party was at Ozzel Rooftop Lounge, this trendy spot on the 20th floor downtown where the cocktails cost $22 and the portions are designed for Instagram rather than actual human consumption. Diana had been planning it for weeks, obsessing over every detail. The guest list, the decorations, the photographers she'd hired to capture candid moments that would look spontaneous on social media. Just show up and don't embarrass me was her exact phrase. That should have been my first warning. The party started at 7. I arrived at 6:45 wearing the charcoal gray suit Diana had picked out for me. She'd made me try on 4 different options. When I walked in, Diana barely acknowledged me. She was too busy directing her photographer, a 20-something kid named Kyle, who kept calling her Di like they were old friends. Her emerald green dress catching the golden hour sun. "Marcus, you're here," she said when she finally noticed me, her tone flat. "Try to mingle. Don't just stand there looking awkward." I grabbed a drink from the bar and made conversation with people I barely knew. Diana's work friends, most of whom treated me like expensive furniture that matched the decor but served no real purpose. Her best friend, Jessica, gave me a sympathetic smile when she saw me standing alone. "How are you holding up?" Jessica asked quietly. "Fine," I lied, just trying to stay out of the way. Before Jessica could respond, Diana's voice cut through the conversation. "Everyone, group photo time. Kyle's going to capture this before the light changes." I moved toward the group naturally, positioning myself on the edge where I usually stood. Diana had a specific aesthetic she maintained on social media. Clean, polished, aspirational. I'd learned over the years that my role in her visual narrative was minimal. Present, but not prominent. But that night, even minimal presence was too much. "Marcus, what are you doing?" Diana asked, her voice sharp. I looked at her, confused. "Getting in the photo, move out of the picture. Your face is ruining the aesthetic." The words hit me like a physical blow. Around us, conversations died. People who'd been laughing seconds before went silent. Even Kyle lowered his camera, clearly uncomfortable. I stood there for maybe 3 seconds, processing what she just said. Then something inside me clicked. Not anger, not hurt, just clarity. Pure, crystalline clarity about exactly what my marriage had become. I stepped out of frame, and I kept walking. Past the group of people, now whispering and exchanging uncomfortable glances. Past the bar, past Jessica, who reached out toward me but didn't say anything. Straight to the elevator. My phone started buzzing before I even reached my car. Text after text, call after call. I ignored all of it. Started the engine, pulled out of the parking garage, and drove. Not home. I couldn't go back to the house I'd shared with Diana for 12 years. Not tonight. Instead, I drove to my office, let myself in with my key card, and sat in the dark, staring at the Austin skyline through my floor-to-ceiling windows. Around midnight, my phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. She's still crying. Says she didn't mean it the way it sounded. You should call her. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I blocked Diana's number and went back to watching the city lights. What Jessica and Diana and everyone at that party didn't know was that I'd been planning my exit for 8 months. Ever since I discovered that my wife's obsession with aesthetic perfection extended far beyond Instagram filters and birthday party planning. 8 months before the birthday party, I'd come home early from a business trip, My meeting in Dallas had been canceled last minute. So instead of staying overnight, I caught an earlier flight and was back in Austin by 8 in the evening on a Thursday. The house was dark when I pulled into the driveway, which was strange because Diana's car was there. I let myself in quietly, thinking maybe she'd gone to bed early with a headache, something she did occasionally when work stress got intense. But Diana wasn't in bed. She was in my home office, sitting at my desk going through my computer files. "What are you doing?" I asked from the doorway. She jumped, literally jumped, her hand flying to her chest. "God, Marcus, you scared me. You're on my computer. I needed to check something for work. My laptop's dead, and I couldn't find my charger." She was already closing windows, moving too fast, her explanation too rehearsed. I walked further into the room. "What were you looking for? Just a file for a client presentation?" She stood up, smoothing her dress. "When did you get home? About 2 minutes ago." I sat down at my desk and opened my recent files. She'd been looking at my banking records, specifically my personal banking records that I kept separate from our joint account. "Diana, why were you looking at my bank statements?" Her expression shifted from nervous to defensive. "Because you've been hiding money from me?" I stared at her. "I have a personal account. I've always had a personal account. You have one. 2, that's not hiding money. That's maintaining financial independence like we agreed when we got married. You have almost $425,000 in that account. Marcus, $425,000. And you never told me the pieces started falling into place. Is that what this is about? You want access to my personal savings? We're married. What's yours is mine. We have a prenup. Diana, very clear terms about the separate property." She crossed her arms. "That prenup is 12 years old. Things change. What things? I'm thinking about starting my own agency. I need capital." And there it was. Not concerned about our marriage or our financial partnership. Just another transaction in Diana's constant quest for status and success. "How much do you need?" I asked, already knowing I wouldn't give her a dime. "All of it. I need all of it to launch properly. Compete with the major agencies." I laughed. Actually laughed. "You want me to hand you $425,000 that I've been saving for 20 years so you can start a company?" "I'm your wife, and I'm not your bank." Diana's face hardened. "Fine, then I'll get it another way." She left the room and I sat there processing what had just happened. My wife had been snooping through my private financial information, planning to demand money that wasn't hers, and seemed genuinely angry that I wouldn't simply hand it over. That's when I started paying attention, really paying attention. Over the next few weeks, I noticed things I'd been too busy or too trusting to see before. Diana's phone was always face down. She'd started password protecting everything, even her laptop that she used to leave open on the kitchen counter. She had late meetings 3 or 4 nights a week, coming home after 10 in the evening, smelling like expensive wine and making excuses about difficult clients. But the real confirmation came from my business partner, Eric Chen, who'd known Diana almost as long as I had. "Marcus, I need to tell you something," Eric said one afternoon in my office. He looked uncomfortable, kept shifting his weight from foot to foot, and I hate being the bearer of bad news. "But you need to know." "What is it?" I saw Diana last Tuesday at the Reserve. She was having dinner with someone. The Reserve was an upscale restaurant in downtown Austin, the kind of place you took someone you wanted to impress or someone you were sleeping with. Who was she with? Eric pulled out his phone and showed me a photo. Diana was sitting in a corner booth with a man I didn't recognize, mid-40s, expensive suit. The kind of corporate confidence that money and success create. They weren't touching, but their body language was intimate, leaning toward each other. Diana's hand on the table, close enough to his that it could have been casual or intentional. Who is he? Ryan Hartwell, CEO of Hartwell Media Group. They're one of the biggest marketing firms in Austin. Everything clicked into place. The late meetings, the new obsession with her appearance, the sudden interest in my money. Diana wasn't just thinking about starting her own agency. She was planning to leave me for someone with more money, more status, more aesthetic appeal. I thanked Eric and spent the next month gathering evidence, not for revenge, but for protection. I knew Diana, knew she'd try to paint me as the villain, spin some narrative about a neglectful husband who didn't support her dreams. I needed proof of what she really was. I hired a private investigator, a woman named Sarah Nguyen, who specialized in domestic cases and came highly recommended by one of my attorney friends. Sarah was thorough. Within 2 weeks, she had photographs of Diana meeting Ryan Hartwell at hotels, restaurants, his condo in the Seahome district. They weren't even trying to hide it, just assumed I was too stupid or too busy to notice. The investigator's report confirmed what I already suspected. Diana had been seeing Ryan for almost 7 months. They'd met at an industry conference and apparently decided they were soulmates, or whatever term people use to justify destroying their marriages. Ryan was in the process of divorcing his second wife, and according to Sarah's sources, he'd promised Diana a position at his firm once she was free from me. But here's the thing about people like Ryan Hartwell. They don't get to the top by being nice or keeping promises. They get there by using people and discarding them when they're no longer useful. I kept all of this to myself, went through the motions of normal married life while preparing for the inevitable. I moved money to accounts Diana didn't know about, updated my will, made copies of all our financial documents and marital records, even started looking at apartments, places I could go when everything finally fell apart. Sarah's report was comprehensive, 185 pages of documentation, photos of Diana and Ryan at restaurants, hotels, his Seahome district condo, text message records that Sarah had obtained through methods I didn't ask about, financial transactions showing Ryan had been paying for Diana's hair appointments, her new wardrobe, even Kyle the photographer for her birthday party. That last detail made me laugh. I'd paid for the venue, the food, the alcohol, but Ryan had paid for Kyle to capture Diana's perfect aesthetic moment. The moment where she humiliated me in front of 50 people so she'd look better in his eyes. The birthday party was supposed to be my exit opportunity. I'd planned to stay through dinner, make an appearance for the sake of her friends and family, then tell her privately the next day that I wanted a divorce. Clean, simple, dignified. But when she told me to move out of the photo, when she humiliated me in front of 50 people just to maintain her perfect aesthetic, something changed. I realized I didn't owe her dignity, didn't owe her a private conversation or a graceful exit. She'd made our marriage a public performance. I'd end it the same way. The report laid everything out in black and white. Diana and Ryan had been meeting regularly for 7 months. Lunch dates that turned into dinner dates that turned into overnight stays. He'd take her to expensive restaurants I couldn't afford on my tech consulting income, buy her designer clothes that she'd hide in the back of her closet. She was living a double life, and I was funding half of it while Ryan funded the other half. According to Sarah's sources at Hartwell Media Group, Ryan had been telling his staff that he was finalizing his divorce and would be announcing his new relationship soon. He'd even mentioned bringing Diana on board as a senior creative director once everything was settled. It was all planned out. Diana would divorce me, take half of everything she could get her hands on, then slide right into Ryan's world with a new job, a new relationship, and a new aesthetic to maintain. Except Ryan was lying to her the same way she was lying to me, and I was about to prove it. The next morning, I woke up on the couch in my office. My neck was stiff, my suit was wrinkled, and my phone had 68 missed calls, most from Diana, some from her friends, a few from her mother, who I'd always suspected didn't actually like me very much. I ignored all of them and called my attorney instead. Robert, it's Marcus Sullivan. I need to file for divorce today. Robert Mitchell had been expecting this call. We discussed it 3 months ago when I first started preparing. I'll have the papers ready by noon. You want me to serve her or you doing it yourself? Have them delivered to her office. 2 in the afternoon. Make sure her assistant is there to witness it. If Diana wanted public drama, I'd give her public drama. I spent the morning at the gym, then got a haircut, bought 3 new suits, and moved into the furnished apartment I'd leased 2 weeks prior under an LLC my attorney had set up. By the time the divorce papers were delivered to Diana's office, I was settled in my new place with a bourbon and 0 regrets. My phone exploded around 2:30, but I'd already blocked Diana's number. The calls came through from numbers I didn't recognize, which I also ignored. Finally, around 6 in the evening, Jessica called. Marcus, what the hell is going on? I filed for divorce. Pretty straightforward. Because of what happened at the party, she didn't mean it like that. She was just stressed about everything being perfect. Jessica, I'm going to tell you something because you've always been decent to me. Diana has been having an affair with Ryan Hartwell for 7 months. She was planning to leave me anyway. The photo thing just accelerated my timeline. Silence. Then, how do you know about Ryan you knew I suspected? She'd been different lately. Secretive. But Marcus, I didn't have proof, and I didn't want to interfere in your marriage over a suspicion. I appreciate that. But I have proof now. Photos, financial records, everything I need. What are you going to do, divorce her, protect my assets, and move on with my life? Jessica sighed. She's going to fight this. You know that. Let her fight. She'll lose. After I hung up with Jessica, I poured another bourbon and pulled up the investigator's report on my laptop. 185 pages of documentation. Photos of Diana and Ryan at restaurants, hotels, his condo, text message records that Sarah had obtained through methods I didn't ask about, financial transactions showing every dollar Ryan had spent on my wife over the past 7 months. This wasn't just suspicion or hurt feelings. This was proof, irrefutable evidence that Diana had been living a double life, planning her exit strategy, using me as her safety net while she built her future with someone else. The report showed lunch dates in early March that became dinner dates by April, hotel stays that started appearing in May. By June, they were meeting 3 or 4 times a week. Diana had been more invested in her affair than she'd been in our marriage for years. I sat there in my new apartment, smaller than the house I'd shared with Diana, but mine, completely, entirely mine. The furniture was temporary. The walls were bare. I didn't have any of the expensive art Diana had insisted we buy over the years. But I had something better. I had clarity. I had evidence. And I had a plan. Diana thought she was in control. She thought she could humiliate me publicly, take my money, and slide into her new life with Ryan without consequences. She had no idea what was coming. The divorce moved fast once I filed. Diana tried to fight the prenup, claimed it was signed under duress 12 years ago, that I'd pressured her into keeping our finances separate because I never trusted her. My attorney demolished that argument in about 15 minutes during our first mediation session. Mrs. Sullivan, Robert said, his voice calm but firm, you were represented by your own attorney when you signed this prenup. You negotiated several favorable terms. There was no duress. Diana's lawyer, a shark named Amanda Berkowitz, who specialized in high-asset divorces, tried a different angle. My client deserves compensation for 12 years of emotional labor, supporting Mr. Sullivan's career while sacrificing her own advancement. I almost laughed at that. Diana had always been more focused on her career than mine. But Robert was ready for this too. Mrs. Sullivan has been having an extramarital affair with Ryan Hartwell, CEO of Hartwell Media Group, for approximately 7 months. Robert slid a folder across the table. These are photographs and financial records documenting their relationship. Mr. Sullivan has been more than patient regarding his wife's infidelity. Diana's face went white. Amanda opened the folder, scanned the first few pages, then closed it quickly. We need a recess, Amanda said. During the break, I waited in Robert's conference room while he handled calls with other clients. 30 minutes later, he came back with news. They want to settle. Diana keeps the house and her car. You keep everything else. No alimony. Clean break. What about the affair? Does Ryan know she's still trying to get my money? Robert smiled. Actually, I have some information about Mr. Hartwell you might find interesting. He's not divorcing his second wife. They reconciled 2 months ago. I stared at him. What Ryan Hartwell and his wife renewed their vows in Scottsdale last month. Very private ceremony. I have a source at his firm who confirmed it. So Diana's been sleeping with a married man who's staying married to someone else. Appears that way. The pieces fell into place. Ryan had been using Diana the same way she'd been trying to use me. Probably promised her everything she wanted while never intending to follow through. And now she was about to lose her marriage, her meal ticket, and her affair partner all at once. Tell them I accept the settlement. I said, but I have one additional condition. What's that Diana has to announce on her social media that we're divorcing due to her infidelity? Complete honesty. No spin. No sympathy narrative. Just the truth. Robert raised an eyebrow. That's unusual. So is being told to move out of the photo because my face ruins the aesthetic. He made the call. Amanda pushed back hard, but Robert was firm. Either Diana accepted all terms, or we went to court where even more embarrassing details would become public record. There was a long silence on the phone, then muffled conversation as Amanda spoke to Diana. Finally, Amanda came back on the line. She agrees. I felt a wave of satisfaction wash over me. Not revenge. Exactly. Just justice. Diana, who had humiliated me publicly, would now have to humiliate herself publicly. Perfect symmetry. 3 days later, Diana posted her statement on Instagram. No filters, no carefully crafted image, just plain text on a white background. Marcus and I are divorcing. This is entirely my fault. I had an affair and betrayed the man who'd been nothing but good to me for 12 years. I chose my ego over my marriage, and now I'm facing the consequences. I hope others can learn from my mistakes. The post got over 1,000 comments before she disabled them, but screenshots had already been taken. They spread across Austin's social media circles like wildfire. Diana's carefully curated brand, the aesthetic she'd spent years building, destroyed in a single honest moment. Jessica texted me later that day. That took guts making her post that, but it was the right thing. How's she doing? Not great. Ryan cut her off completely when his wife found out. Diana's probably going to lose her job too. The agency doesn't want the drama. I felt a twinge of something. Not quite satisfaction, not quite sympathy, just acknowledgement that actions have consequences. People who build their lives on lies and appearances eventually have to face reality. Diana had made her choices. Now she was living with them. I texted Jessica back. Tell her I hope she figures things out. Will you? She replied. Will I what? Figure things out. Move on. Be happy. I thought about that question while looking around my new apartment. It wasn't as big as the house I'd shared with Diana. The furniture was temporary. The walls were bare, and I didn't have any of the expensive art she'd insisted we buy over the years. But it was mine. Completely. Entirely mine. No performance, no aesthetic, no trying to be someone I wasn't just to fit into her perfect picture. Yeah, I told Jessica. I think I will. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I ran into Diana at a coffee shop in downtown Austin. She looked different, older somehow, tired. Her hair wasn't styled the way she used to wear it, and she was wearing jeans and a sweater instead of her usual designer outfits. Marcus, she said when she saw me, can we talk? We sat at a table in the corner. Diana ordered a black coffee, no elaborate specialty drink with specific milk alternatives and extra shots. Just coffee. I've been wanting to apologize, she started, for everything. The party, the affair, the way I treated you. Okay. That's it. Just okay, I shrugged. What do you want me to say? Diana, it's done. We're divorced. You're moving on. I'm moving on. Are you happy I am? Actually, are you? She laughed bitterly. No, Ryan won't return my calls. I lost my job. I'm living with my mother because I can't afford the house on my own and had to sell it. My social media following dropped by 65% after that post you made me write. I didn't make you write anything. That was the condition for a clean settlement. You agreed to it. I know. She wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. I just wish I could go back and do things differently. We all do, but we can't. We just have to live with the choices we made. Do you hate me? I thought about that question. Did I hate her? Hatred required caring. And I'd stopped caring about Diana the night she told me to move out of the photo. I don't hate you, I said finally. I just don't feel anything for you anymore. You wanted me to be invisible. Now I am. At least to you. Diana's eyes filled with tears. But I didn't comfort her. That wasn't my job anymore. I finished my coffee, wished her well, and left. Outside. The Austin sun was shining. Spring was turning into summer, and the hill country hills rolled in the distance. Hazy and beautiful. I had a meeting with a potential client in an hour. a dinner date with someone I'd met through Eric that evening, and absolutely zero regrets about walking away from that photo. Sometimes the best decision you can make is to step out of frame and keep walking, to refuse to be invisible in your own life, to understand that if someone treats you like you're ruining their aesthetic, you're not the problem, they are. My name is Marcus Sullivan, and I learned that my worth isn't determined by how I look in someone else's picture. It's determined by how I feel when I'm standing on my own. And right now, I feel pretty damn good. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever been made to feel invisible or inadequate by someone who was supposed to love you, I want you to know something. You deserve better. You deserve someone who wants you in every photo, who never makes you question your worth, who sees you as essential rather than optional. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories about people who found the courage to walk away from situations that no longer serve them. Drop a comment below telling me about a time when you chose yourself over someone else's expectations, and hit that like button because you deserve to be seen. Until next time, remember, if someone tells you to move out of frame, maybe it's time to move out of their life entirely. Now, I want to be honest with you. This story is a fictionalized account based on real experiences shared with me by people in similar situations. The emotions, the lessons, the journey from invisibility to empowerment. Those are very real. Whether this exact scenario happened or not doesn't matter. What matters is the truth it represents. You deserve to be seen, valued, and respected. Always.